Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to IFYL. Great to be with you. January 13th. It is 11:43 p.m. Before we get into the show, I definitely want to welcome you. Hey, Ken, thanks so much for popping in. We're wrapping up our wonderful week here. And a couple things. First of all, we have our master topic that we'll get to in just a second. So I definitely want to welcome all of our new people that are here. Great to have you. I want to welcome all our people that have been supporting us and coming back. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I also want to welcome those that are watching us back on the replay. Maybe they're watching us at 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, whatever. So really do appreciate all of you guys. Before I get into the master topic, which, we start every Saturday and we roll to a Friday. So today's the last day in the master topic for the week. We've had a really great week. I want to talk about the 13th and why it is superstitious, right? Because today is January 13th. So why is 13 considered an unlucky number? Well, it's a little weird. And the thing about it is that it dates back to a very, very long time. And so when somebody says there are a few superstitions, and what is Friday the 13th? So crossing paths with a black cat, breaking a mirror, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some people won't have 13 in the room they live in. They won't have 13 on their elevator for the 13th floor. They won't have anything 13. And so, like many superstitions that evolved over time, it's difficult to pinpoint the precise origin of Friday the 13th. What we seem to know is that both Friday and the number 13 have been regarded as unlucky in certain cultures. For example, we have a dozen, there's 12 months in a year. So 13 is kind of odd. Extraordinary origins of everyday things had things about curses and mythology and things like that. But it basically just doesn't fit into an even number, right? So there were superstitions from Scandinavia that spread south through Europe, becoming well established along the Mediterranean by the start of the Christian era. And it was there that the unsettling power of the numerals was cemented through the story of the Last Supper, where Jesus Christ and his disciples on the Maudry Thursday. So the 13th and the most infamous guest to arrive, Judas, was the disciple who betrayed Jesus and leading to his crucifixion on Good Friday. So, we hear about the fact that, it's just an unlucky number, but is it a superstition? Probably. So again, but do be careful, in, whatever you're doing. Hopefully you're home and taking it easy. So let me get right into our master topic, shall we? All right, here we go, everyone. So how to understand auditory learning. First, I want to invite you guys, if you are free, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time to 7 a.m., or Tuesday and Thursdays, 4:30 to 5:30. You can actually go to the link right there. Just take your phone, scan that QR code. You'll get lots of great information about me, lots of free information. But you know what else you're going to get? You're also going to get at the very, very top, you're going to see there's going to be an option there. And the option is going to say, listen to IFYL on WDLB Live. Tells you the times and when it is. So definitely check that out. And we're starting to get live guests calling in soon. We have a phone, so we're going to start doing that next week. So really, really grateful to that. We are live in Chicago. By the way, it's just an hour earlier in Chicago. So it's actually 5:30 to 6, Monday, Wednesday, Friday a.m. And then on Tuesday and Thursdays, it is actually 3:30 to 4:30 if you're in Chicago. All right. So our master topic is how to understand auditory learners. We've been talking about this all week. And I know you're probably saying to me, John, how much can we talk about this? Well, the thing is, every time we talk about this, I feel that it has a different impression on people. Why? Because the first time you hear it, it doesn't sink into your brain. Okay? You heard it a second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. You're in a seventh time. So what we're trying to impress upon people is that if you're in school and you're having trouble learning, think about checking out whether you're an auditory learner. Check other learning modalities too, like kinesthetic, touch. But usually the schools teach to visual learners. That's how they normally teach. And don't be afraid to ask for accommodations, because there's nothing wrong with asking for accommodations, because it's not cheating, nothing bad like that. It's just really about figuring out what's going to make you learn really, really well. And if you understand what makes you learn really well, you know what's going to happen? You're going to learn pretty amazingly, and you're going to learn quickly. So let's think about something for a moment. If you've ever been poolside, I'm sure you have. And if you're sitting, let's say, in your lounge, laying down, what have you, and somebody else with us, somebody you know, or a friend, or a colleague, or somebody, and they take the shirt off and they jump into the pool, right? Can you hear that shh noise, right? The splash, and then you see the water go over the place. How about if somebody was to be with you and you were outside and it was very quiet? In fact, it got so quiet, maybe it was a Halloween night, or maybe it was a Friday the 13th night, and you were at a graveyard. Well, it would get very eerie, very quiet, and you would listen to things. And then if you heard something like a howl, or if you heard some weird sound, you're like, oh my gosh, what's that? And it's because you're auditory and you're sensitive to that. That's why a lot of times when you had people that were scared of these things, it's because it became so real, because the sounds went right through them. And everybody like, oh, it's nothing, because they were not as connected as maybe you are if you're an auditory learner. So auditory learning is something that is not just about learning, but it's about how we connect with our world. It's about how we connect with the world. And so if we understand how we connect with the world, then knowing how an auditory learner is, whether we are that or someone else is that, we can appreciate what an auditory learner needs to be able to have a great life. That's right. I said what an auditory learner needs to have a great life, because the problem is a lot of people out there say, hey, John, I don't know, if I'm an auditory learner, if I'm not an auditory learner. But I can tell you this. If you think you're going to become an auditory learner just by snapping your fingers, it doesn't happen like that. So you are born as an auditory learner, but maybe you actually have to practice so that you become better at that. All right. So an auditory learner is a person that's able to perceive the world through auditory stimuli, sounds, words, what have you. And so, just like I described that one sound to you and the other sound of the graveyard, have you ever been on a plane and they close the cabin door, and for some reason, like you or other people that are auditory, they're like very like they can't rest until the announcements are over. Other people just kind of tune out. They shouldn't, but because you're auditory, if you are, you seem to be very captivated by any sound. In fact, even when you hear the bells going, like the first, they give you the two bells. And I know whenever I get on a plane, I find that I can't really relax until we get up to that point of the 20,000 feet above. And then you hear the two dings, and then you hear them do all those announcements, which is distracting. And then I know I can go to sleep for a little while. I can rest because then they come out with the cart, right? And how about when they come out with the cart and they ask you if you want a beverage? Some people will take a soda or they'll take a juice, and they'll take the can and they'll right in front of you. And even though it's not right in front of you, you hear it and you can't miss it. What else do they do? Well, maybe somebody opens a bag of peanuts or pretzels and you can hear that. Even though it's not that close to you, your ears pick it up. That's wild, John. I know. Or how about when you get up in the morning and if you have heat that's baseboard heat, you will hear like the crick in the pipes. And what this is the hot water going through them, okay, recirculating. And because of the hot water going through the cold pipes, it makes those noises when it starts to expand. And then once the pipes have expanded, it's nice and quiet, right? Once the heat's coming up. But if the heat first comes up, it's like you hear all those kick and other noises. Now, you may never notice those if you're not an auditory person. Take my stapler for a second. Can you hear that? How about I put that back? And how about I get my Scotch tape? Do you hear that? Perhaps somebody closes a container like this. You hear that, right? If I tap on the desk, you hear that. If I make a noise with my mouth, or you get these people a lot of times and they'll do this. Or and it's annoying, but they get in the habit of having to create that sound. So it's a habit. So if you're an auditory learner, you have a lot of potential in this world. And that means anything you can hear can literally transform your life. You could hear me playing a piece of tape. You hear that? You can even hear, ladies and gentlemen, if I pick up a book, right? And let's say the book I pick up just like this. And that's how I open it. Okay. Now let's say I close it. Hear that? You can hear me close it. So an auditory stimulus allows us to connect to markers in our brain that we create. So we've already said when we hear a cop siren or if we hear an ambulance, we get a certain notion in our head. Or maybe if we hear a certain voice, we get a certain way. We can't explain it, but it's because of classical conditioning. I'm not going to get back into that again, but it's very similar to Pavlov and the dog. And because you're auditory, you file things in your brain using sounds. words and the tonality, pitch, and type of voice. Even if somebody's yelling, maybe somebody is talking quietly, maybe they're whispering like this, or maybe they're talking a little louder like this, right? And as you notice that, it's like, huh. And you don't really realize it at the moment, but later on, when you hear that same voice again or that same pattern, you're like, oh, I remember this guy or I remember this. So it allows us to create that great association. So I hope that you have appreciated what we've talked about this week, which was auditory learning. And again, if you're an auditory learner, great, explore it more and more. If you're not an auditory learner, well, make sure that if you have auditory learners, that you make sure that you help them so that they understand what you're talking about. Because you might say, gee, John, I've shown this guy so many times and he still doesn't get it. It's not that he doesn't want to get it. It's that you're speaking a different language. Now, of course, it's English, but it's a language that the person can't process 100%. And so you're requiring them to take extra brain power to figure out how to store it or how to retrieve it. But if we talk in the manner that they are comfortable in, well, then things are different. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been an amazing privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic, yes, Friday the 13th, January 13th here at 2 minutes before midnight. Yes, we got the show in before midnight. I hope you'll like, love, support the channel. Definitely comment below. Tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. Go to my YouTube channel, John Space C Space MRLY Space Serial Entrepreneur. Look for that key phrase to help keep our content free. Make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a cup of coffee, perhaps a bowl of fruit, or a savory dessert. Either way, we're going to be grateful with those pennies and dollars. We'll invest them into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, even new facilities to give you the most jaw-dropping, empowered content to change your life. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to see you guys tomorrow with a whole new master topic that you're not going to want to miss. Stay tuned, everyone. Have a great night.